What is going on, Junkie Nation? Today we get to catch up with Cody Brundage, who's got a big fight coming up at UFC 325. It's basically next year, but man, we're right there. It's December 29th, and the UFC is going to start off strong in about 4 weeks. His opponent is Rowston. Welcome back to Junkie Radio. How are you, Cody?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. So can we talk about what you just mentioned to us in the pre-interview?
Yeah, so I just got done moving in the middle of the holidays. Definitely would not recommend to
I was
people.
gonna say, define that. Did you pay someone to move and you were just sitting on a garden chair telling them, yeah, take that up to the attic or put this here, or were you actually getting in there grimy and dirty yourself?
Oh, so like 50-50, right? So pre-UFC Cody, I was moving all the heavy stuff myself. Had the boys come over, pizza and beer. You guys know the drill, but now I did pay some people to do all my heavy stuff, so that made it easier. But you never realize like how much shit you have until you go to move, and you're like, man, I got way too much shit. So it was definitely a process of like, I need to throw some of this stuff away for sure.
I had a buddy, when I was growing up, and he said, once I turn 30, do not holler at me, because he had a truck. So, like you said, when you're younger, moving things, refrigerators, pool tables up and downstairs, no problem. Pizza and beer, and everyone's happy. But as you get older, and that one guy gets a tweak in his back, and he's a chiropractor. And so after 30, it's like we all made an agreement, like, no, go hire yourself some movers. I'm good. I ain't helping you,
For sure.
And those days are over.
Oh yeah. I'm done with the moving the big things, and I won't. If I'm not willing to do it, I'm not gonna make my buddies do it. So
did you get a nice crib? Did you buy a crib? Is this your house that you moved into?
Yeah. So we got a new place. It's the other way. So yeah, thanks, bro. I appreciate you. Yeah, it's good, man. It's a good spot, and hopefully this is the last move for a while. We've been in Colorado for 5 years now, almost 6, and we've moved like 6 times. So definitely over it.
Oh yeah, well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
We've interviewed Dustin Jacoby and Brandon Royval, and both of them have had pretty sick backyards. I don't know if that's a Colorado thing where there's just ample space or what. Same thing with you. Like, did you get a house with a big yard, or are you more like in a building? Or
I'm in a suburb, so I got a little yard. I have a small dog, so it works out. Dustin's backyard is one of the coolest backyards ever, man. He's got a great setup over there, and I'm fine with it. My little yard's cool because I don't like doing a ton of yard work anyway, so it's good for me.
That's true. We just found out he's Hanyak. Did you know about that?
Oh yeah, the Hanyak, bro. Give it another 2 weeks, the Hanyak really starts to show up. I mean, right now he's still Dustin, but as we get closer to fight time, he's gonna be the Hanyak.
What about you? Do you become someone as the fight gets closer? Some sort of a heathen or something like that?
Nah. I keep it. I got girls at the house, so even if I tried to keep up that facade, I come home. I got 2 young daughters, so it would fade pretty quickly. So I'm just myself. When I get in the cage, I flip the switch, but all the way up to the fight, we're keeping it easy around my house.
What are their ages? Do they know what daddy does, and do they watch, or are they too little?
So my oldest will be 5 in February, but she's special needs, so she doesn't really know. And then my youngest definitely knows. She's 2, and anytime the fights are on, she's like, "Let me watch Boom Boom. Let me watch Boom Boom." And I'm like, "Ah." She's like, "Daddy's gonna boom boom." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna boom boom."
Really? At 2 years old, she comprehends it all?
Yeah. Well, she's almost 3, but she's super smart. She gets it, man. And she the other day we were watching. I can't remember who I was watching. Somebody who beat me. Hidalgo and Bo. Mm-hmm. So I was on both their highlight tapes, and she's like, "Daddy?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Yeah. What kind of a background did you have before you got into mixed martial arts in combat sports, like as a kid, high school, or whatever? What were your?
Yeah, so I got into wrestling at a super young age, and then I had 4 brothers, and 2 of them were big into like Taekwondo. So I never like formally took Taekwondo, but I would travel kind of around with them while they competed, and I would break boards in the garage with them and do some stuff like that. So, and I was always a fan of the sport. I don't know if I ever thought I would fight, just because, where I'm from, that's not really a thing that people do. I laugh now when I go home. They're like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a professional fighter in the UFC." They're like, "What even is that?" So fighting just wasn't a big thing. If there was like a fight at my school, it was talked about for like the next 6 months. So I don't know if I ever thought I was going to fight, but my wife, she was a fighter, and she signed me up for my first amateur fight. We weren't even dating. We were just on the same team at the time. She was a coach of mine, and she signs me up for my first fight. Calls me. She's like, "Hey, you're fighting this weekend in Ohio." I was like, "Well, I didn't sign a contract or anything." She's like, "Don't worry, I signed it for you." I was like, "All right, I guess this is what I'm doing now." And then luckily, by the grace of God, closed my eyes, knocked the kid out in 12 seconds, and I was like, "I guess this is gonna be my life now." So
Damn. So she got you into it, huh?
yeah,
And
for
she
sure.
signed for you.
Huh?
She signed for you.
Oh yeah. She was
Hmm.
signing. She told me when she first started coaching me, she made me agree. She said, "Listen, I'll coach you for free. Like I'll give you privates." She was in the UFC at the time, and she's like, "I'll give you privates, whatever, but you're gonna owe me 2% of your future earnings because you're gonna make it." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Now every time I win a fight, I'm like, "Hey, remember that 2% deal we had? Let's go back to that." I've been chasing it ever since. I can't get it back.
You could always put those forgery charges above her head as well.
Yeah, there you go.
So the hat might explain my next question. Fighting isn't a big deal where you're from. Is it because you're from a religious town or something, or conservative
I don't
area?
know. I mean, definitely, I'm from South Carolina originally, the Bible Belt, if you will. So, but just where I grew up, man, it just wasn't like everybody like I grew up on a lake. I laughed when I went on Contender Series. They were like, "Well, what's the worst day of your life?" And I was like, "Bro, I just didn't have that life, you know." And I think that's pretty uncommon for fighting. Most people don't get into fighting because of their abundance of options.
Mhm.
But I was lucky, man, and I just love competing. And I wrestled, like I said, at a high level in my life. And but where I was from, it wasn't like that. I was like, the worst day of my life was I wanted a red jet ski, and my parents got me a blue one. Right? I always joke like that was the worst day of my life. But no, I had it really good growing up. My parents were divorced, but they were great together, and yeah, they just worked really hard to kind of give me everything I ever wanted. I was going to wrestling camps in the summer and traveling to tournaments, and you don't really realize what that stuff is as a kid. You're just
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is what it is. But now as a parent, you're like, oh wow, this is some serious commitment that you kind of have to that you didn't really appreciate probably properly as a child.
Our guest is Cody Brundage. He's got a fight coming up. It's in February 1st in Australia, or January 31st in the United States. You can watch it on Paramount Plus. Pretty much you can watch every event in the UFC on Paramount Plus starting in 2026. This will be the second. We're calling it a numbered event, folks, but it's the former pay-per-view. So this will be UFC 325, headlined by Alex Volkanovski, Diego Lopez. All right, goes. What do you have for our guest, Cody Brundage?
Cody, so the last fight was close, Can you maybe going back and watching it again, can you tell us what your takeaways were from that? Are there any positives you can pull from it?
Yeah, I feel like this year 2025 I went 1-1-1, so one win, one loss, one draw, and I just think very easily could have been 3-0, depending on who's watching the fight and what they're seeing. You can never really get too mad at judges or what they do, I think, because there's no like I don't know what they're looking for. It seems like it changes every fight. It seems like it changes in fights, like between rounds. So there's no real rhyme or reason. I thought that like when I first got in the UFC, I was very young. I didn't have a ton of fights, and I think I was trying to figure out how to fight, and my performances kind of showed that. But I don't think I've had bad performances in my last year of competition. I think I've had some results that obviously I'm not happy with, but I haven't performed poorly. Um, I think I was close to putting Eric away in that last fight a couple times, but I took the fight on 4 days' notice, so there was definitely some hesitancy of like, do I go after him now and gas out and get tired? And looking back, you're like, yeah, of course. But in the fight, it's hard to make that decision. So I'm not really super upset with my performances. I think I just need to do a little bit more. I think when I'm dictating, it typically is a good fight for me. And then when I'm not, obviously it's not as great. So I just need to be more active, a little more volume, and try to dictate kind of where the fight's happening.
This is a early fight in 2026. So do you feel like this can be sort of a reset, a rebirth, or something else?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like I've had a lot of fights in the UFC at this point. 13 fights in the UFC. I'm only 31. I've stayed super active in my career. I was talking to Dustin today. We're on that card together, and he got back in the UFC at 32 off Contender Series and went on a 7-fight win streak. And I was like, man, that'd be nice to do right now. And he's like, well, you could do it. So I mean, I don't know if it's a rebirth or reset. I think just kind of maybe like a realization of like, hey, bro, you have the potential to go do these things. Now it's just going to make them happen. You know, I think it took a long time. Growing up in the UFC is definitely a process, and there's some things that are tough about it. There's some things that are awesome about it, but there's some things that are tough about it. At this point, I'd like to think like, all right, man, I'm grown up. I'm here now. I'm established. So now let's just go and handle business, you know.
How much of an advantage do you feel it is having experience over your opponent, but more so experience at a high level like the UFC?
Yeah, I think it's a huge advantage. I think because you don't even really know if you belong, right, until you've kind of proven it, I guess. And I don't know if you can feel like you proved it in one fight. Maybe he does. You know, he had a good performance, knocked out Andre, caught him with a hook, I think, and put him down. So I just think I've been in every situation. I've been, the nerves get a little, not that they go away, but they get a little bit less being under the brightest lights in the sport. I think it becomes more like, okay, I get to do this more than like, oh shit, like what's going to happen. Um, so yeah, I think it's good, man. I think it's a good matchup. Anytime they'll give me like a debut guy or like a guy who's very new in their UFC career, I always find that to be a good matchup.
Your mixed martial arts soul is kind of like a puzzle, right? And along the way, you start filling it in. If you don't mind sharing, what are parts of that puzzle that are filled in now, and what are parts that are missing?
Yeah, I think my mixed martial arts soul. I don't know, man. It's like the answers I'll give probably aren't what you hear from most people, but I'm not. I fight because I love competing. I love being on my like being a part of my team. My whole life I've been a part of a team. It helps me provide for my family. It's but like my goal, like I said, my wife signed me up for my first fight. It wasn't ever something that I was like, man, I'm gonna be in the UFC and I'm gonna have fame and riches and all of these things. And it just wasn't really my goal. It's something I'm passionate about because I think every time I get in the cage, I try to face the fear or face do something that's uncomfortable. I think you only grow when you do things that are uncomfortable. And fortunately my job provides me that opportunity damn near daily, but uh a lot. And so um, I think fighting has helped me to be a better dad, just in terms of like facing adversity, overcoming things, and like having real permeable evidence to be like, go to my kids and be like, hey, I did hard shit. Your mom did hard shit. Here's, here's actual proof. Cause we all hear that from our parents of like, well, I had to do this. And it's like that old adage of like, yeah, you walk uphill both ways in the snow. Like we get it. Right. But I think it makes me a better dad because I think I can really speak to kind of pursuing your passion and overcoming adversity and doing uncomfortable, hard things in the pursuit of growth, which makes me a better husband, dad, friend, all those things. So fighting just is a huge piece of my life. I've met most of the most important people in my life through fighting. Um, so yeah, it's huge. I mean, I don't know what's really missing. I don't have like. I guess it would depend on like what you think makes like a great fighter. I think sometimes like selfishness makes a great fighter, and I think I don't really have that. I think it's hard to be a dad and have selfishness. I mean, I have a little bit, I'm sure, but I don't know if I have the selfishness you need to be a UFC champion. So maybe that's what's missing. I don't know.
Wow, that's an honest and raw answer. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Had she not signed you up, were you not destined to be a fighter, or did she just accelerate what you were going to become eventually?
Yeah, I don't know if I would have taken a fight on my own, to be honest. Like I love training. Like I said, I was a big fan of the sport. I maybe would have got into like coaching more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would have ever pulled the trigger and signed up. I mean, maybe. I'm sure like being around it enough, I would have, but who knows how long that would have took or if I would have pursued it in terms of like I'm gonna make it big,
Yeah.
Because like I said, I got into it and it was fun and I had some success, but I had a lot of good people around me telling me like, hey man, you could be in the UFC. And to me, it just seemed like when that young kid writes down like, what are you gonna be when you grow up? They're like, I'm gonna be a football player in the NFL. And then they're like, whoa, that seems crazy. What's your backup plan? They're like, I'm gonna be in the NBA. And you're like, I don't think you're really understanding the question, right? Like that's how I felt like, oh, I'm gonna be in the UFC. Like, I don't think that's what's gonna happen. But yeah, fortunately it did. I think maybe I would have taken a fight, but I think my journey would have been quite a bit different for sure.
It almost sounds like you ever hear them stories about a kid or a man when he was a kid will say that the mom or the dad you come home because someone beat you up, and then the mom and dad will go get back to that park and fight them again, or you at least stand your ground, or so it's almost like your wife said, get in there. What did she want you to test yourself or to experience her life? What do you think was the reasoning? Did you ever ask her? I'm sure you have, right?
Yeah, I think like she was giving me a lot of extra like privates. I would come in the morning. I was coaching at a college wrestling team, so I'd come in the morning. There'd be no one really in the gym. She would basically train me for free. And then I would go coach wrestling, which was basically me just wrestling with the college kids, and then come back at night to the gym and do classes. So I was training a lot, and I think her point was kind of like, well, if you're doing all this training, why wouldn't you just take a fight? And I was like, well, I don't really know if I want to get punched in my face, or like, there's lots of reasons. My mom's not going to be happy if I take a fight. I was only 22 years old at this point, so I was like, I just don't know. Like, I have a college degree. My parents are going to be pissed if I just go into fighting, right? So. Yeah, I think she was putting a lot of time in, and she's like, I don't really want to put this time in if you're not gonna, go see what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And so,
We'll start charging you.
yeah, exactly. I think she was like, all right, that 2% of nothing is nothing. So why don't you go see if you can make something of yourself?
What's your degree in?
I was a triple major in college. I was a history, English, and education major. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
I was gonna coach wrestling and be a teacher, but
Nice.
maybe in the future. Yeah.
I'm going to try not to ramble my next question, but I think it's valid. Bo Nickel is the guy that you faced, and he comes from the wrestling world, high level NCAA 3-time champ. But in his last fight, his striking really looked good, and he finished with the strikes.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, the guy that's at the top of your guys' division, you and Bo, and the other middleweights, is Hamzat, who had no interest in in striking, and just wrestled. Like, do you find yourself almost being pulled in two directions? You shared time with one guy and he's shown success by rounding out his game and striking, but then the other guy, he came out unscathed, and now he's the world champ and he's making tons of money. Like, when you're in Australia getting ready to fight, like, is it tempting to just say, you know what, I'm just gonna wrestle the hell out of this dude and forget about the haters or whatever, get the W, get 2 checks, and just, I guess, keep rounding out the striking to when you feel comfortable to really, really leave wrestling aside?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a hard question, right? Because yeah, of course, if I could wrestle like Hamza, I'd be like, no, I'm taking everyone down and I'm doing what he did. I don't think I'd care too much about the fans booing or whatever. I don't think I've seen, and like honestly, his last fight was maybe a little bit boring, but he normally just comes out and steamrolls people, even when he wrestles them, right? Like he finished Robert Whitaker in like what, 1 round, broke his jaw, like. So the last fight was maybe a little bit boring, but typically he's a finisher. I think like he's such a different level of wrestling that like he's afforded that, right? I think even guys like Bo, like his being in there with him, his MMA wrestling still has a lot of room to improve, right? Like his timing, like he gets a hold of you and he makes really good decisions, but he is not that confident in his own grappling. Like Hamza is like, I'm the best wrestler in this division, and the way he fights makes you believe he truly is, and he knows he is, right? Bo says I'm the best wrestler in the division, but then like refuses to go to the ground with RDR, or refuses to go to the ground with Paul Craig. And maybe that's being smart, but if I was like, hey, I'm the best in the world at this specific thing,
Right.
I'd be damned if I'm not going to do that specific thing. Cody Brundage is not the best in the world at anything, so I have to figure out how I can mix all these things together to find a way to win. I definitely feel like I need to mix my wrestling in more than I do. But yeah, it's tough. It's like when you learn something new, man, and you're just like hard charging on this is what I know now. I'm like, can't wait to show off all this new stuff I've learned. I think you see a lot of wrestlers do that. Like Justin Gaethje, people don't know he's a Division I All-American in wrestling. You would never know that, right? Like because he's learned new stuff, and he's like, I don't want to wrestle. Wrestling's hard. It's tiring, right? So I don't know. I think that's a tough question because Hamzat's so good. Like I don't know if I've ever seen anyone as good as him there. Maybe Khabib. But yeah, that would be an interesting fight, him and Bo, to see what would happen. I think Hamzat would take him down, to be honest.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens on the night of the first with you and Cam Rowston. because that's who you're facing, not Bo or Hamzat. So if you're
Been
gonna
there, done
wrestle
that,
him,
yeah.
you know, bank around, you're up 10-9. Now the pressure's on him. It's
Yeah.
3 5-minute fights if you think about it. But
For
that
sure.
first round is so important in many ways. And I always tell people, you know, definitely make sure you use your strength. You know, don't get on that plane coming home with a black eye and you didn't even get to judo toss someone if you're a judoka, or you know, wrestle someone if you're a wrestler, or you know, whatever, lock
For
up
sure.
someone with jujitsu. But that's cool that you and Dustin are on the same card. And
Yeah.
thanks for the time today. Congrats on the new house, and thanks for sharing those stories, man. That's interesting. The
Yeah,
wife
thanks,
said,
bro.
"You're going."
Yeah, get in there. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I like it. Thanks, Cody. Take care, man. We'll talk to
Yeah.
you soon, all right?
Appreciate you guys.
All right, you too.